Okay, topic 6.7, energy from biomass. And you see you got some plants right there. So obviously we're going to start talking about plants. So describe the effects of the use of biomass and power generation on the environment. All right, so let's compare biomass and biofuels. So biomass is the organic matter, the wood, the charcoal, the dried animal waste, or dead brush or leaves that's burned to release heat. Typically speaking, that's going to be used for heating homes or cooking meals inside the home, or even in a barbecue pit, right? So this is utilized primarily in the developing world for heating homes and cooking food. The reason why is because it's easy to harvest right outside, right? And it's available and it's cheap and sometimes even free. So we call that subsistence fuel. Please make sure you highlight that. So we've got a young man right here who's got, a wheelbarrow with some biofuel here, biomass, sorry. You can also burn this in power plants to generate electricity, but it's not that common. We're not going to do that as often. Okay. Biofuel is going to be liquid fuel like ethanol, biodiesel, and that does come from plants. So corn, sugarcane, palm oil is a big deal. I think we talked briefly about palm oil and the palm oil plantations that are being grown in the Indonesian rainforest. So what happens is they slash and burn the rainforest in Indonesia to build these monocrops of palm oil trees or palm trees, and that destroys the habitats for organisms or animals like the orangutan. It's pretty sad, actually. But palm oil is used as a biofuel, and so that's what makes it very valuable. Okay, so we're going to use this as a replacement for fuel sources like gasoline that we use in vehicles. Okay, so biomass, when we burn it, that releases CO2, but it doesn't really increase the atmospheric CO2 the way that fossil fuel burning does. The issue with burning biomass is you're probably going to release more carbon monoxide than carbon dioxide. The reason is because burning biomass releases modern carbon, CO2 that was recently sequestered or taken out of the atmosphere. So it's essentially carbon that hasn't been stored for hundreds of years and isn't as compact and it doesn't have as much carbon in it. Whereas your fossil fuels burning releases fossil carbon, which, like I said, was stored for millions of years. And so a lot of times biomass burning is considered carbon neutral. So you're taking out what went in that's just going to go back in. So you think of spending $1 someone just gave you versus withdrawing all your life savings. Okay, so it's like you're burning it, but then it's kind of going right back into a plant. So talking about human health, like I said, your biomass burning really is going to release carbon monoxide. Carbon monoxide, I think we all know, is quite deadly and poisonous and will kill you. Nitrous oxides, which will also kill you, but particulate matter, which can also cause asthma or even lung cancer over time, and volatile organic compounds. All of these are respiratory irritants. So 3 billion people globally cook on open biomass fires, and that's mostly in your developing world. When they burn it indoors, that all of those chemicals, all of those air pollutants can increase inside their homes, and so that would increase their asthma, bronchitis, COPD, emphysema, eye irritation. Another environmental consequence, number one, would be deforestation. Obviously, having to extract all of that biomass from the nearest forest, but also air pollutants, but mostly deforestation. So the reason why this happens so often is because of a lack of environmental protection laws, but also because they're poor. They're poor. These people don't have the financial resources that allow them to use other fuels. And so what they have to use what they have to use, whether that's wood or cow manure or what have you. So another issue, environmental consequence, would be habitat loss due to the deforestation, soil erosion due to the lack of trees from deforestation, that loss of carbon dioxide sequestration from the trees, because now you've cut them down and so they can't store the extra carbon, as well as air and water filtration that the trees are going to be able to do. Your nitrous oxides, your volatile organic compounds, and particulate matters all contribute to smog formation, which can also be a respiratory irritant. So corn and sugar cane can often be fermented into ethanol, which can be used when mixed with gasoline. And you guys know that when you're at the gas pump, sometimes it'll say it has ethylene. So what happens is that the corn or green sugar is going to be broken down, and yeast are going to ferment the sugar to ethanol. So your E85 or flex fuel is about 50 to 80% ethanol plus gasoline mix, and that's used for flex fuel vehicles. This is going to decrease oil consumption, but it's not as efficient as just using pure gasoline. Not to mention, you're still going to get all of the excess carbon into the atmosphere. Renewable only to the extent that you can still grow corn. Like, you can grow more corn, but consider the fact that you're going to have to, use more land, or possibly cause deforestation because you're growing more corn and more sugarcane. So your environmental consequences, all the negatives: soil erosion, habitat loss, greenhouse gas release from all of that agriculture, right? So that extended agriculture for growing all of that corn. We've talked about what happens to soil, and you've got heavy machinery on top of it. It gets compacted, and we know that those corn plants are not going to have that kind of long-standing, long-growing root structure that allows soil to stay put and prevent soil erosion. And so we're going to have all of that, including extra water use. You're going to need lots of corn in order to make these biofuels relative to petroleum. And so obviously that competes with human needs for corn, but also the needs for cattle and all our livestock that need corn. And so, like I said, you're going to grow more and more corn, use more and more land, deforest more and more forests. You can use algae, and that can be done. That's going to be a little bit more sustainable than corn. Biodiesel. These are liquids that are produced specifically from plant oils like soy or canola or palm. Like I said, palm is quite destructive to the palm tree monocrops are quite destructive to forests. So palm oil biodiesel has been found to produce 98% more greenhouse gases than fossil fuels due to the clearing of the forest for palm plantations. It can be more sustainable if the land's already cleared and is being used, but if you have to slash and burn a forest in order to build or to cultivate a palm oil or palm tree plantation, then that's not sustainable. And so you can kind of see right here where we had this kind of lush, biodiverse rainforest comparative to what you can see, this kind of monocropped palm plantation. So increased CO2 release from the lack of sequestration, but also from all of the machinery that's being used. The loss of habitat, so all of the organisms that would normally have lived over here cannot live over there, and so you're decreasing their habitation. Soil erosion, because these are not going to be plants that hold on to soil the same way that these plants do. The loss of air and water filtration that is necessary, or is what is the services of a forest. And so this is extremely detrimental to the rainforest. All right, so FRQ. Explain why biodiesel fuels have a different effect on atmospheric carbon levels than fossil fuels do. Well, this is a good one. And describe 2 environmental benefits of using algae for biofuel production rather than corn, palm oil, or sugarcane. Oh, I like that one. You might want to make sure you know the answer to that.